Okay, hello all the crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and welcome back to making bullet hell games in Game Maker. So this is what the game looks like now. This is the first sprint, as I've decided to call it, in the project management system is pretty much finished. And today it's going to be all about user interface. The next couple weeks are going to be all about user interface. Let's see, the big items are going to be getting a user interface system in the game, and then like collecting and rendering it and updating it and whatnot at the correct times, the same way that I had in the last game. I've marked both of these items as fairly heavy in terms of like the amount of work that's going to have to go into them. I don't actually know how much trouble that's going to be. Best case scenario, and where'd you go? Best case scenario, I can just throw the user interface stuff folder into a Game Maker asset package and call it a day, and then just click and drag it into the next project. Worst case scenario, I will have a big old pile of spaghetti on my hands that's going to need to be dealt with. What is this? Oh, that's the title spray. Okay, I was gonna say that preview over there, I have no idea what that is. So let's see. Let's just try to. Can I right click and send this to? No, there is no just make asset package out of this folder, at least not at this point in time. That would be a nice addition to have. Let me tools, create local package. I'm going to go into the Bombardier project and just add the user interface stuff folder. And can I just like, do I really have to enter a display name and a package ID? Package ID should be a valid file name. UI stuff. All right. Don't need to bother with a version number, really. Don't need to bother with a publisher name, really. And I'm just gonna save that in my Game Maker projects folder. So if I add this, if I take the Windows Explorer window that it spawned and add this, there we go. Thank you, Game Maker. I will import the asset package. Let's just grab all of it. And graphical stuff, user interface stuff, sure, why not? It's good enough for me. If I run the game now, it shouldn't crash. There shouldn't be any code that's like broken in there or anything. Yeah, of course it doesn't actually do anything. I guess I'll start with that. Let's commit that change. Anything, not counting the like old backup versions of the font or anything. Anything that I might want to change about this. I remember there were a couple odd things regarding the user interface system that I thought was kind of a pain and that I thought I would do differently next time in Bombardier, but I don't remember what exactly those were. I feel like by the end of the project, things were working pretty smoothly. And I didn't have to, like, fight with the system a lot to make it work. So I think for now, I'll just not worry about that. So I'll commit this change. And that's going to hopefully be relatively painless. So that isn't the end of the story, of course. For one, I'm going to have to go into the room editor, and I'm going to have to start making a bunch of layers that say things like, you know what? Let me throw the waves in a folder. Can I do that all at once? I cannot. Okay, whatever, Game Maker. What was it called? How exactly did I organize this in Bombardier? So this game has a bunch of different folders in the room editor for different contexts, such as the game over screen, gameplay stuff, title screen, and that sort of thing. I am planning on using multiple rooms in the bullet hell game, so that might be a little bit, say, messier. I'll probably honestly use the initial room here as a configuration room, and then I'll make the objects in the configuration room persistent so that they get carried over to the next room or something like that. I'm not sure exactly. Or I might not. I might use room inheritance, because GameMaker does have some room inheritance options. I'll decide that later. But for now, I'm just going to get it, I'm just going to get something set up. Can I... Exactly what is the room inheritance system like? If I were to create another room, would I be able to inherit, like, one room off of another? Oh, create child room. That might be a way to do it. And then I'll be able to, like, inherit the game UI. Anyway, I'll worry about that later. Another thing that is supposedly upcoming in the world of GameMaker updates is the ability to have, like, dedicated user interface assets and layers and stuff, which I assume will mean that they will persist between rooms and just sit on the user interface, and you won't have to, like, mark them as persistent or remember to carry them over or anything like that. But that is probably also a ways off. Maybe an argument for me, like, not recording all these videos ahead of time and just waiting a couple of weeks / months to see what happens. Maybe that's an argument in favor of that, but you know what? I think this is fun, so I'm gonna work with it for now. So if I were to create myself a folder and call it something like UI underscore gameplay or something like that. And after that, each of the layers inside this has a name like UI underscore gameplays underscore whatever. And if we're on this layer, we can start to add a couple things to the screen, such as UI block raycast, that would be one. And this would, like, create a little barrier on the side of the screen like this. And it's not perfect. Wave 1 is probably going to want to move over a little bit. So that they don't end up being hidden by the stuff on this layer when that happens. And then on top of that, I can take, for example, like a UI text. And I can have this be like the player's score, or maybe the gameplay timer or something like that. I'll do score because that's already implemented behind the scenes. And how would I go about giving any of this text behavior? I believe UI underscore game. Which was an overlay. If I go into the creation code here, we have some creation code in the form of get text, and I can do the same here. But instead of pointing to, like, the wave countdown timer or something like that, I can say gamecontroller.level.score. And I can just say text is going to be score followed by that value. And we don't need to do anything complicated there. However, this will not, I don't think this will be the only thing. Actually, this might work out of the box. Alright, that's the multiplier, that's not the score, because I grabbed the wrong value, but, alright, it works out of the box, but that is not all, because I also am going to need the ability to turn layers on or off. For example, for, like, a pause state or something. Or for different menus in the main menu or something like that. So let's have a look at what I did in Bombardier for collecting the user interface and putting it in some sort of data structure that I could just draw from. I might put this, instead of just dumping this in... Alright, all UI elements. This looks promising. Semi-transparent stuff is not part of the UI. That's for objects with alpha blending. Instead of just dumping this in the creative end of the game controller, I might make this its own struct. So I might make this like a group that says group_UI. And all the UI related code and classes and whatever goes here. Call this UI manager constructor like this. And then the exact way, and this is probably one of the things that I mentioned that I feel like could have been done better, but the exact way that we are going to be drawing UI is going to be current pause screen, current title screen, current game over screen. This feels a little bit unwieldy. So I think I might pick the code that I'm going to draw a little bit differently. Anyway, this should, once this struct is instantiated, this should collect the user interface into a map in the form of a struct. And from there, we can do things like just tell everything in the layer with the name UI pause or UI credits or whatever to draw itself. And then, of course, there is the block raycast code at the bottom, which is okay. So this is just a little comment would have been helpful here, past self. Any if a UI block raycast doesn't live on like a UI layer, like UI_gameplay or whatever, if I just accidentally drop one of those in some other layer for no reason, it'll just destroy itself. Otherwise, it'll go to the layer that it lives on, and it'll sort of save itself as the instance that is responsible for blocking the raycast, because those need to be drawn first anyway. Okay. Hopefully this is like all I need to do. And it's not really a raycast block anymore. In Bombardier it was, because you would literally do a raycast into the 3D scene with a mouse cursor so you could figure out which towers and stuff you wanted to click on, but here that is less relevant. Raycast blocking objects. Anything else I should comment to make this a little bit less like ambiguous? I should probably add a draw UI layer method or something like that. In Bombardier, I'm pretty sure how is this done? So it would be get GUI layer, and then that would call the render method. Okay. And all that does is it returns. Okay. That just basically looks up the instance in the map. Like that. And then I don't know if there would really be any reason to get a UI layer without drawing it, but we can do that. Okay, so this is a bit of code. This is going to be segmenting current level index. I don't think is somehow relevant to the UI manager. Show tooltip tower. That was also specific to the tower defense game, so I can get rid of those too. Let's enforce the use of self. Even with built-ins. Like that. So should I decide to do a third let's make a game thing in the future, which I probably will unless something goes horrendously wrong, because this is fun. This should make it a step easier to handle UI. Let's see. I'm going to go back to the game controller. In room start. Self.ui equals new UI manager. And then in draw GUI, I will comment out this nonsense and say self.ui.draw layer. What was it? Draw UI? Render UI? I'll call it render UI because all of like my struct things, when they have a method that is responsible for drawing, they call it render instead of like draw. Personal preference. And this is going to take a layer name, which can be, for example, UI underscore gameplay. And that should, let's see, first I'll comment this out. If I don't do that, that line of code, then we should have nothing, right? Health is still being drawn on the screen. Why? Oh, that's being drawn by the player. Later on, once this is up and running, the player won't be drawing anything to the UI. The player won't have any awareness that the UI exists. But when I try to do this, we should have the little sidebar being drawn. Okay, that's perfect. And we also don't have the multiplier sitting there awkwardly on the screen, because I guess that was I guess this was being drawn after the other instances that were drawing their UI. That's whatever. Okay, that's good though. I can get rid of this. I can get rid of whatever's going on in the player's draw UI. And that was actually a lot less work than I thought it would. Player draw GUI. Player does not need a draw GUI. Maybe they will. If I want to have some like thing floating around the tooltip around the player, around the mouse cursor. Why do I have Discord open? I may have that being drawn directly on the player's UI layer, but in all honesty, probably not. That might actually just go in the regular draw event. We're not going to be making use of views and scrolling around and that sort of thing. Okay. Let's see. I think that is... I won't commit changes to the room. Yeah, I won't commit changes to the room, but I will commit the rest of the changes as like initialize the UI system. Alright, that took me 20 minutes of real time. Maybe that'll be cut down to like 18 after video editing. I don't think I did a ton of tripping over my words there. Add a system similar to Bombardier. That can be decisively completed. Really... I almost feel like saying that is worth like 20 points of effort is almost cheating, because that's a lot of points of effort, and I was really expecting it to take a lot longer, and it makes it look like I got a lot more done than I did, when really it just wasn't that bad to begin with. So I'm gonna edit this down to say that is worth 10 points of effort. Collect and render UI, that was a bit more. I'll leave that where it was at 15. Adding the system really just involved creating an asset package and dragging it into the new project. Okay. I would totally just make the UI system a lot cleaner, maybe add a couple more widgets to it and whatever, and make it a game maker extension that I throw on the internet for people to use. But like I mentioned several times, Yo-Yo Games has talked about at some point, and hopefully the nearest future, adding their own proper UI system to Game Maker. In fact, if I go to the Game Maker roadmap right now, I think it's actually listed as in progress as of my recording this. So hopefully that'll be happening soon, and hopefully that will, yeah, it's currently in development. hopefully that'll be happening soonish, and hopefully that will make whatever I could put together myself rather obsolete rather quickly. So I'm not going to spend time doing that unless it proves to be necessary later. Okay, game UI, time, wave number, score, player health, special attack status, stats, enemies remaining, all this. I will spend the next video, I will spend next week, like, laying out a UI. There's a couple other thoughts I have on, like, the amount of stuff I want on the screen and how much of the game I actually want taking up on the screen and where I want the UI to go and stuff. So I will deal with that next time. Let's see. If you want the code for this, look for the GitHub repository down in the video description. Again, I won't commit these changes because I'm instantly going to replace it with something else next time, so it's probably not really worth it. I have not been doing many commits per video in the last couple, but that's probably okay. Honestly, it's probably an indication that my commits are too big, but that's neither here nor there. Let's see. I try to post about 2 game dev videos a week, one of these and one tutorial, so if you're interested in any of that, feel free to stick around and subscribe. I like talking about the, as I frequently call it, the arcane parts of Game Maker, so all things 3D, shader magic, that kind of thing. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, look for links to that in all the usual places. Otherwise, I hope you all found this interesting, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Zenjamin, Then Nothing Happens, Squarecrow, Sindra Larson, Posho, Gunnar Clovis, Game Maker, Edward Holt, DJ Gibbles, and Army Armbruster for supporting these videos. If you want to see your name in the credits or hear yourself shouted out at the end like this, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.